Yo guys, so we are going to react to NVidia Omniverse Enterprise, now free for all. Now this is interesting because some comments, hold on. This was something that I heard but I'm not really familiar with. So I am interested in knowing what it is about and everything. Um just to inform myself, to keep myself updated as a 3D artist. I feel like that's really a duty. So yeah, let's learn about NVIDIA Omniverse Enterprise. That's free, and it should, like, everyone that has the clips I've seen, at least they talk as if it's this great thing, so I'm definitely intrigued.
What's up guys, welcome back to Ask NK. So the folks at NVIDIA have quietly made NVIDIA Omniverse totally free for everyone. Now NVIDIA Omniverse is this amazing tool that is USD centric. This tool simply allows creators from different applications to plug into one particular tool and work across the globe and create all at once. So whether you're plugging from Substance,
Oh,
Unreal Engine, Relutions, iClone, or Character Creator, or even Blender, you can all compose everything in one place and see it update in real time. And sometime in 2022, they did make Omniverse free for individual creators and artists worldwide. Of course, at the time, this wasn't for commercial use, as this was more of a 3D design collaboration and virtual world simulation platform for designers and creators to use with.
oh, wait, this is actually, wait. So you're telling me every change that you're making and, like, wait, I guess this is something similar to Unreal, or am I, like, not
Design
understanding?
applications to create 3D assets and scenes from their laptops or even workstations. And right now, if you're a studio and you like to use this for commercial purposes, yes, you can. As if you simply go over to link in the description that will bring you here, it's written that NVIDIA Omniverse licensing has changed, as Omniverse is now freely available for both development and production use with no NVIDIA AI enterprise subscription required. Software built with
Oh,
Omniverse may also be freely redistributed under the same terms. The only time that you would require some form of subscription is if an enterprise support is required. Other than that, you can now go ahead and use this for free. At the same time, you can also proceed to build your applications with this. And the folks at Storage Review have also put out a post that says that NVIDIA has dropped the subscription requirement for Omniverse. The platform is now free for development, production, and redistribution with no NVIDIA AI Enterprise subscription required. There's a talk about the
oh,
Nucleus server
wow.
and what it prompted, and he went on to
They're
say that
doing
this is
this
one of the
for
larger
free?
license reset NVIDIA has
What's the
made. It's great
catch?
news for the community, but it was also announced very quietly via a forum strictly. And for those who like to explore this, or possibly you like to download this, you can now get this from their GitHub, as the executable file is no longer available. And how you install this is very simple. Let's do a quick run
Okay.
through of how that actually works. And to get started, you need to go over to the NVIDIA Omniverse GitHub page. And within the NVIDIA Omniverse GitHub, what we need is the Kit app template. We'll click on that, and this
Kit
is
app,
going to
okay.
load. And from here, we need to also have a folder where we would like this installation to be. And since we're doing this for Windows, we're simply going to right click and click on Open in Terminal. Now for this installation,
Okay.
how you get to do this one is this easy. Because we already have these things set up, what we need to do is click to copy, right click within the console and paste. And you need to repeat this task for all of these. Now this is going to ask you if you accept the governing terms. We're simply going to click on yes, and it's also going to ask us to select what we want to create with. We're simply
Okay.
going to select
I'm gonna follow
application,
this
and it's going to ask
tutorial
us one
later,
more
but
time, what exactly do we want? And for this case, we want the USD Composer. So we're simply going to go ahead and select the USD Composer, press the Enter key, and this is the point where you get to enter the desired name. In some cases, you might set this to Omniverse, but we're simply going to leave this as it is, press the Enter key, and also press the Enter key one more time for the application display name. Of course, these things can be changed later, but we're simply just going to accept them the way they are and keep going. And once that is done, there's a question for the application layer, which we're simply going to answer yes to. The next thing it's going to ask you is the streaming type. We'd like this to be the Omniverse Kit app streaming. So we're simply going to use the space bar to make the selection and press the enter button to allow this build to begin. And once we have that, we can now
okay.
start building. And to build, you need to simply copy the retro.bat build within the Windows section, right click within the terminal to paste, and press the enter button to initiate the application building. Now the building does take a while, so you need to be a bit patient to have this one working. And once this is
Okay.
done, you would get a message that says the build release has been successful. And to launch the app, you need to simply go over to the GitHub section, copy the launch, right click, paste that, and press the enter button. And that is how easy it is for you to launch the NVIDIA Omniverse USD Composer. Of course, Omniverse has a lot of other components, but the USD Composer is more likely the basic one that you will want to get started with, as this is a wonderful system that allows you compose your USD scenes and work with various USD files alongside Material X and various other file formats, as you can simply link these
Okay.
things together with some other tools that they have and work across teams. So with the NVIDIA Omniverse open right here, there's a couple of things that we can do. First off, we can move around our scene, which is basic. So if we hold down Alt and our left mouse button, we can albeit Alt and right mouse button, you can zoom in and out, and Alt and middle mouse button, you can pan. Of course, you can zoom in and out with your middle mouse button as well. If you like to load in any of the sample scenes or configurators that they have here, all you need to do is double click, don't save, and this is automatically going to be loaded in. And if you press the playback button, you would notice that this is playing back in real time. And you'd also notice another thing.
Yeah.
This is an animation, which means that you can also animate right here in NVIDIA Omniverse. And as this animation plays
Oh,
back, let's talk about the entire user interface. We've got our viewport right here, which we can move around while this plays back in real time. Right here is where we have our stage. So all of your stages, as this uses the USD structure to do stuff, you've got your stage here, you've got your layers here, your render
this
settings are
the
here,
little
your
robot
variants are
is
there.
funny,
If
but
you have any object selected, you can see all of its properties
oh,
right over here. So
okay, even the bones, skeleton binding. Hold on. It's kind of going fast.
stages, as this uses the USD structure to do stuff, you've got your stage here, you've got your layers here,
Yeah.
your render settings are
S- Oh, I'm guessing for okay.
here, your variants are there. If you have any object selected, you can see
Okay.
all of its properties
Oh, is it placing this is like guess the pivot center for the animation as a whole?
right over here. So with these properties here, you can make changes, and these changes would apply in real time. So for example, now that we have this texture, we can click down here, select any of the textures that we'd like to work with, and load that onto that specific piece. You can also make changes to the animations as well while this is playing back in real time. Right over here is
Okay.
where we've got content. So we've got our contents, the default contents that we get to work with. We've got environments right here, and there are
Oh,
different
it
kinds of
directly
environments from the dome
hold
light
on.
all the way to various
That was actually interesting. It directly comes from like your files. Hold on. Damn.
this is playing back in real time. Right over here is where we've got content. So we've got our
Yeah. But it basically has all the files even from your computer. That's actually like I like this. That's actually
contents, the default
dope.
contents that we get to work with. We've got environments right here, and there are different kinds of environments from the dome light all the way to various templates environment that we have. We've got materials, a good number of materials are right here, from automotives all
Okay.
the way to base, play with them. You'd also notice right over here that we have our start and stop button. So we can stop our animation, we can play back our animation, and this plays back literally everything. So if I stop this and click and hold, you would have an OmniGraph is a small graph, and we can also apply audio. So let's start off with a brand new slate and talk about things that you can bring in. So first off, if you like to create basic assets here, you can right click, go over to create, and you can create basic meshes, basic shapes,
Okay.
lights, all
Yeah.
that stuff. So for meshes, we can choose to say, maybe we'd like to make a cube. Everyone loves a cube, so we can have that cube there. And we can also create a sphere. I'm just going to bring in that sphere, position that right there, and let's press F on the keyboard to frame that in, and we can
Yeah.
position that right there. All the properties for this can be found over here. Same thing for this one. If you like to rotate this, you can of course go ahead and rotate this right here. And for example, if you like to animate it, you can also choose to animate it. So in this case, for us to start the animation, we can go over to our windows, go over to animation, and get ourselves a timeline. And within the timeline, we can start the automatic keyframe, or we can simply right click on any of the ones that we want and key them. So for example, if we would like our object to move from one position all the way to the next, we can easily key that. So I can come in and I can just set a key right there, and we can go all the way to say maybe 54, sounds good. Move this over to a position like that. One more time, set a key, and then you notice that we have our object moving. Same thing can be done for rotation. So for rotation, we can also say maybe we like to key that, and then we can move this all the way to this point and set this to about 270 and key that as well. And once we have that keyed,
Okay.
if we send this all the way back, press the playback button, you will notice we've got a smooth real-time rendered animation playing back. And of course,
Yeah.
we can also go over to the Windows section, go over to animation, open up the graph editor, and make changes. The
Oh
changes could
wow.
include maybe
Okay.
just changing the handle of how the rotation works and changing whatever tangent that we want. And once we have that, we can have animation playback and have fun working with this. For example,
So
if you like
this
to also
can
animate like the light, you can also do that
this could
as every
replace
single primitive and shape has
Unreal low
animatable
key.
parameters. And speaking
I
about
mean,
light
it's
and
not
animatable
as
parameter, we
it doesn't have as many function as Unreal, but I feel like actually even for like other stuff, I feel like it could replace even something like Marmoset when we're talking about renders
in the light section,
because it seems very easy to do
if you go over to the
renders over
temperature,
here.
you can choose to dial this up or dial it down. So in this case, if I set this to 2, press the enter button, you can see that we
But this
have that
gives
as
me
super, super
a
warm.
lot of
And we can
vibes
crank this
on
up and we can have this both
Unity,
cold,
Unreal, and
warm, and
everything.
super warm. And like we mentioned, to animate these, all you need to do is throw in a key and you have
Yeah.
that key right there. We can also set the range. So for example, if I want this to have a range of 100, we can set that range right there. You also have this tool, which you can use to set ranges as well. So we can have that. And I can move this
Okay.
all the way to about frame 40. So we can do frame 40. And I can just simply lose that one that we have here. Press the enter key, right click, and set the key. If you like to auto set keys, you can do that by turning this on. So once you turn the auto set key feature on right
Oh
here,
wow.
you can go over to maybe a separate place,
The way this works even low-key makes me think of Maya.
let's say frame 20, and we can change this. So I can go in and
This is
change this
really
to about
all tool
1800,
in one.
or let's
This
say
is actually kind of
18,000. That
crazy.
looks like a fair number. And we can go all the way back. And
I'll just say the only con of this is the fact that the download is like low-key a bit complicated. I mean, he just showed us a tutorial, so the guide step is not like that complicated, but I feel like it would be so much easier if it was just you know one click thing where you download, you click, then you just do finish. And
then we can
like
just
hopefully I don't need to redo these steps every time I want to enter Omniverse every
simply
time.
set this to 2. Once we have that, if we press the playback button, you notice that our light simply animates. You can do
Yeah.
anything you want with these things when it comes to animation. And speaking about the lights, for lights, you have a couple of lights. So you can go ahead and take a look at these ones, which includes the cylinder, the disc, distance, dome, rectangle,
And
and
do
also a
render.
spherical light. At the same
Because I'm
time, if
seeing
you like to
render
work with cameras, you
settings.
can actually go ahead and bring in a camera and switch to the camera
Oh,
view from here.
shading.
So with a
Okay.
close-up, we can see this, and we can also see this from the long view. You can lock the cameras if you like, you can unlock them.
Okay.
For properties, if we click right here, we can have access to all of the properties here. On the other hand, you can also have access to your properties if you click on this tiny button right over here.
Oh,
So we
wow.
can take a look at this, play with the zoom, the field of view, and also various other features that comes with that.
Oh, it's so readable. It's so easy. Like, I low-key want to try it.
Other things that you might also need to know has to do with the rendering type. So from here, we do have different rendering types. Right now, this is using the interactive path tracer. We can switch this to the
Okay.
real-time 2.0, and we can also switch this to the RTX minimal. And this is definitely going to be pretty useful for anyone that would like to quickly preview their assets. They choose to start lighting or rendering in real time. Right over here, we also have a couple of things that we can show. And for the
I'm gonna try to
viewport,
do a
we also have
render
some more
in
stuff
this.
that deals with various manipulation and also preferences that you might want to explore. Now, with this out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the materials, as this currently uses both Material X, USD materials, and a couple other material types that exist. So for you to apply materials to this is extremely easy. All you need to do to start applying material is to find the favorable material that you'd like to apply, and you can simply click, drag, and drop it right onto the surface. And this is
Huh?
going to calculate and then apply the material. But what
Oh,
if
it
you like
takes
to create your
time.
very own material? And to create your
Yeah.
material is this simple. If you right click, you can go over to where you have create, go over to material, and you can create any of this type of materials that you want.
Emissive
Maybe you like to create
glass.
a standard
Okay.
surface material, X material, USD preview surface material. You can do that. For a standard surface, once you have this selected, you can actually go in here and start defining stuff. So if you like to describe the surface or the material, you can do that. If you like to play with the base or maybe change the color to something like, let's actually go ahead and get a bit more orangey like
How does it
color.
work with
So if we like to get
textures?
something like that, you can have that set. You can play with the metalness if you want. You can
Okay,
also play
yeah.
with roughness if you choose. There is also the specular transmission. For example, if we like to make this a bit more transparent, we can turn that on. We can also
Okay.
play with the surface, the sheen, the thin film, emission, if we like to make this
Textures.
emissive, and if we like to play with various geometry data, we can do that. And this includes the thin wall, which is something that was just recently added to Blender, opacity, and also the
Is it
normal
with
and tangent
outputs?
input. So for both material and material X, you do have a good number of things that you can do with this. Like we mentioned earlier, for the stage is where you can set stage for various things, and for the render setting,
Oh,
this is where you can define what renderer you like to use to do your rendering, the
reply
post-process
post
effects that you might
process.
want to apply to your scene, which
Okay.
includes compositing,
Oh
color grading,
wow.
motion blur,
That's
chromatic
nice.
aberration.
Even though like obviously I can do a lot of these things in Unreal, I really like how the interface is extremely simple. Obviously over time I don't know if they'll update it, it'll get more complicated, but I really like the UI, the interface, and really how like everything is not really hidden, and that's something I can appreciate.
And so much more. And at the end of the day, once you're done, you can proceed to do your rendering. And for those who are thinking about bringing things in, you can bring in
Yeah.
various file formats into the USD Composer, and you can use this as a tool for assembling your scene in real time and take
Okay.
advantage of the real-time renderer and start doing amazing stuff with it. Currently, this does not come with those configurators that allows you to plug into various tools, as you might actually need to go over to the NVidia Omniverse GitHub, where you'll be able to have all of those USD exchange tools and plugins that you can actually use to connect to various other tools as well. Currently, the
Oh,
one that we just explored, which is a very basic tool that they
the Kit app. Okay. I'm guessing it's the agent one. The this one's that's
have
gonna be.
is the Kit app template. And so you can go ahead and download all of the USD exchange tools, the Kit USD agent, the USD search client, WebView sample, and the Learn open source USD, which comes with learning resources for universal scene descriptions and so many other things. And all of these are now available. For those who like to work with physics,
Oh
the
wow.
physics tool is also available right here. The Isaac Lab is also available, and there is just a good number of things that you can come through and grab with this. So this is it. NVIDIA Omniverse is now available totally for free for everyone to use.
Autodex Mudbugs is finally dead. Okay, I wanna I wanna react to this, but I'm gonna end the video right here. This was interesting. Um, I think I'm getting the full picture of what Omniverse is. I don't know if I do want to try it, how the render looks and everything, but I don't know if this is a tool that I'm going to use on really in my workflow right away, even like at all right now, especially because like there is so many different tools right now that are so complex, and that like I'm already aware, like Unreal, Unity, you know, that can bring me good results. So, and I'm already aware of Marmoset too. So yeah, obviously Omniverse has. I feel like it has some real competition, so it kind of needs to prove itself to me.